Hey there, welcome to Sleep-O-History. Before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment to support the channel. Now settle in, relax, and allow the noise of the day to fade as we begin our quiet step back into history. Sleep-O-History presents the entire Roman Empire. Chapter 1, A Small Settlement on the Tiber, Rome, began as a small settlement located on the banks of the Tiber River. The land was surrounded by 7 hills that offered natural protection and a sense of separation from surrounding regions. Early inhabitants built simple huts from wood, straw, and clay, forming the first clusters of community life. These early structures were modest, designed only for basic shelter and nothing more. The people of this early settlement lived slow, predictable lives centered around farming and herding. The river provided water, fish, and a route for limited trade. Families grew crops such as wheat and barley, raised livestock, and relied on communal labor to survive. Life was organized around the rhythm of the seasons, with planting, harvesting, and tending animals serving as the foundation of their routine. There were no monumental buildings, no known rulers of great fame, and no strong political institutions during these early years. The settlement expanded gradually as more families arrived, drawn by the fertile land and the river's steady flow. Over generations, these small beginnings shaped a community that would eventually grow far beyond its humble origins. Chapter 2, The Latins, Sabines, and Etruscans. The early region of Rome was influenced by 3 significant groups: the Latins, the Sabines, and the Etruscans. The Latins occupied the plains and were primarily farmers and herders. They lived in small communities that valued cooperation, simple customs, and agricultural stability. Their language became the foundation of Latin, which later evolved into many languages across Europe. The Sabines lived in the nearby hills and maintained strong traditions based on family honor and community loyalty. They practiced pastoral lifestyles and often interacted with the Latins through trade, negotiations, and occasional conflicts. Over time, many Sabine families merged with Latin communities, contributing to Rome's early cultural mix and forming alliances that strengthened the growing settlement. The Etruscans, living to the north, were more advanced in engineering, craftsmanship, religion, and political structure. They introduced stone architecture, improved metalwork, and a complex set of religious rituals. Their influence on early Rome was significant. Many of Rome's early symbols of power, engineering techniques, and religious practices were shaped by Etruscan culture. Through steady contact, trade, and interaction, Rome absorbed these influences and blended them with its own customs. Chapter 3, The Legend of Romulus and Remus. According to Roman tradition, the city's origins are tied to the story of Romulus and Remus. The tale describes twin brothers who were abandoned as infants near the Tiber River. They survived only because a she-wolf discovered them and cared for them until a shepherd found them and raised them in his home. Although mythological, this story became a symbolic explanation of Rome's resilience and determination. As the twins grew older, they developed leadership qualities and a strong desire to establish a new settlement. They chose the hills near the place where they had been saved, seeing the location as meaningful and strategic. However, disagreement arose over which hill to build on and who should lead the new city. This dispute escalated into conflict, resulting in Romulus killing Remus in a moment that defined the city's founding myth. Romulus named the settlement Rome and became its first ruler. His leadership in the legend included organizing early warriors, dividing social classes, and creating the first political and religious institutions. While historians view the story as symbolic, it reflects the themes of struggle, authority, and destiny that would later shape Rome's identity. The myth served not as literal history, but as a cultural foundation that expressed Roman values of strength and perseverance. Chapter 4, The 7 Kings of Rome. The early development of Rome was guided by a series of 7 kings. Romulus I established essential institutions and organized the population into tribes. After him came Numa Pompilius, who focused on religion, laws, and peaceful governance. Numa is credited with shaping many of Rome's early religious practices and calming the community after the more militaristic rule of Romulus. Tullus Hostilius followed Numa and emphasized military expansion. He led Rome in conflicts with neighboring groups and reinforced the importance of discipline. Ancus Marcius came after Tullus, combining military skill with practical improvements. He strengthened Rome's port, improved trade routes, and built the first bridge across the Tiber, allowing easier movement and communication. The last 3 kings were Tarquinius Priscus, Servius Tullius, and Tarquinius Superbus. Priscus introduced Etruscan advancements, including symbols of authority and architectural improvements. Servius Tullius reorganized Roman society through the census, creating new social classes based on wealth. Tarquinius Superbus, the final king, ruled harshly, and his oppressive behavior caused the people to reject monarchy. His downfall marked the end of kingship and the beginning of a new political era. Chapter 5: The Birth of the Roman Republic. The transition from monarchy to republic in 509 BCLE was a turning point in Roman history. After removing the last king, Roman leaders created a system that prevented any single person from gaining absolute power. The Republic introduced elected leaders called consuls, who served limited terms and shared authority to ensure balance. The Senate became a central institution composed of experienced and influential men. It advised on policy, foreign affairs, and financial matters. While the Senate did not hold absolute power, it shaped many important decisions and maintained continuity across generations. Assemblies of citizens created laws and elected magistrates, establishing a mixed form of governance. This new political system encouraged civic duty, legal clarity, and accountability. It was not free from conflict or inequality, but it provided a structure that allowed Rome to grow steadily. The Republic became one of the most influential political models in history, combining checks and balances with the active involvement of citizens. Chapter 6: Early Conflicts and Expansion. Within Italy, Rome's early years as a republic were marked by conflicts with neighboring peoples. Rival groups such as the Etruscans, the Volsci, and the Equi challenged Roman influence. These struggles were not rapid conquests, but extended campaigns requiring patience and discipline. Rome relied on citizen soldiers who served during campaigns and returned to their farms afterward. Victories strengthened Rome's position in central Italy. Rather than destroying conquered communities, Rome often formed alliances offering partial citizenship and protection. This inclusive policy encouraged loyalty and reduced resistance. Many local groups saw advantages in joining Roman networks rather than opposing them, allowing Rome to expand without constant rebellion. Through steady diplomacy, careful planning, and military discipline, Rome extended its control across the Italian peninsula. Roads, treaties, and alliances supported this growth. By the 3rd century BCE, Rome had become the dominant power in Italy, prepared for greater challenges beyond the peninsula. Chapter 7: Daily Life in Early Republican Rome. Daily life in early Rome revolved around family, work, and religious practice. Families lived under the authority of the paterfamilias, who managed property, directed household decisions, and upheld traditions. Most citizens were farmers or craftsmen, producing goods such as pottery, tools, and textiles. Markets in the forum served as the center of commerce and conversation. Religion played a major role in everyday life. Romans observed numerous festivals, honored household gods, and followed rituals believed to maintain harmony with the divine. Priests and augurs interpreted signs from nature to guide important decisions. These practices were woven into the rhythms of the year and shaped communal identity. as the Republic grew, the city became more organized. Roads connected neighborhoods, public spaces expanded, and temples marked important areas. Citizens participated in elections, military service, and public ceremonies. This combination of civic involvement, family structure, and religious observance built a strong social foundation. Chapter 8: The Mediterranean World Before Rome's Rise. While Rome expanded within Italy, the Mediterranean world was dominated by established civilizations. Greek colonies in southern Italy and Sicily brought advanced art, philosophy, and political ideas. These Greek settlements influenced Roman culture through trade and interaction, providing models that Rome adapted for its own needs. Carthage, located in North Africa, was a major maritime power with extensive trade networks. Its wealth, skilled sailors, and thriving economy made it one of the most important cities in the Western Mediterranean. Carthaginian merchants traveled widely, connecting regions through commerce and cultural exchange. Egypt and the Eastern Mediterranean formed another sphere of influence. Strong agricultural productivity, advanced administration, and rich traditions shaped these societies. Rome observed these powers and learned from their systems. By blending local experience with external influences, Rome prepared itself for future dominance in the Mediterranean.
Chapter 9: The Rising Tension Between Rome and Carthage. As Rome grew stronger in Italy, it encountered Carthage, a powerful city on the North African coast. Carthage possessed a vast trade network, skilled sailors, and influence across the Western Mediterranean. Both Rome and Carthage initially interacted through trade and treaties, but their ambitions gradually overlapped. The island of Sicily became the first major point of contention, as both powers sought control over its strategic ports and fertile land. Small disputes between local allies escalated into broader conflict. Neither side intended to start a long war, but political pressure, regional loyalties, and strategic concerns pushed both civilizations into open confrontation. This conflict would become known as the First Punic War. It marked the beginning of a long struggle between two rising powers seeking dominance in the Mediterranean world. Rome had little naval experience compared to Carthage, whose fleets were among the most advanced of the era. To compete, Rome rapidly constructed its own warships, learning shipbuilding and naval tactics as the conflict progressed. Over more than 20 years, battles took place on land and sea. Slowly, through persistence and adaptation, Rome gained the upper hand and forced Carthage to surrender Sicily, marking its first major territory outside Italy. Chapter 10: Hannibal and the Second Punic War. The defeat in the First Punic War created resentment in Carthage. Many citizens believed Rome had acted unfairly, and several Carthaginian leaders sought an opportunity to regain lost influence. One such leader was Hamilcar Barca, whose family became central to Carthage's response. His son, Hannibal, grew up with a deep sense of duty toward restoring Carthaginian strength, and he inherited both his father's strategic mind and determination. Hannibal initiated the Second Punic War by attacking Rome's ally in Spain, which Rome interpreted as an act of aggression. Instead of facing Rome at sea, Hannibal executed an extraordinary strategy. He marched his army across Spain, over the Pyrenees, through Gaul, and finally across the Alps to enter Italy. This journey was dangerous, cold, and physically demanding. Many soldiers and animals perished, yet Hannibal emerged in northern Italy with enough forces to challenge Rome directly. For years, Hannibal defeated Roman armies in major battles at Trebia, Lake Trasimene, and Cannae. His victories were among the most devastating in Roman history. Despite these losses, Rome refused to surrender. Instead, it avoided direct confrontation, strengthened its supply lines, and slowly drained Hannibal's support. Eventually, Roman forces under Scipio Africanus invaded North Africa, compelling Hannibal to return and defend Carthage. His defeat at the Battle of Zama ended the war and marked Rome as the dominant Mediterranean power. Chapter 11: The Third Punic War and Rome's Final Victory over Carthage. After the Second Punic War, Carthage remained weakened but still active economically. Some Roman leaders feared that Carthage might recover enough strength to challenge them again. Persuaded by political speeches and strategic arguments, the Senate eventually demanded that Carthage dismantle its defenses entirely. When the Carthaginians refused, Rome launched the Third Punic War. This war was short compared to the previous conflicts. Roman forces besieged the city of Carthage, cutting off supplies and isolating it from allies. Carthaginians defended their home with determination, but they lacked the resources to resist indefinitely. After a lengthy siege, Roman soldiers breached the city walls and engaged in a final, intense struggle. Carthage fell, marking the end of its long-standing rivalry with Rome. With Carthage destroyed, Rome gained full control over North Africa and removed its most formidable competitor. The destruction of Carthage symbolized Rome's transition from a regional power to an imperial force. Wealth, grain, and trade routes flowed into Rome, strengthening its economy and expanding its influence. However, victory brought new pressures and responsibilities that would later strain the Republic. Chapter 12: Social and Economic Changes in the Republic. Rome's expansion altered its economic and social structure. Large amounts of land acquired from conquered regions were distributed to wealthy Romans, creating vast estates worked by enslaved laborers. Small farmers found it increasingly difficult to compete with these large estates, leading many to migrate to the city in search of work. This shift disrupted the traditional agricultural economy and created a growing population of landless citizens. Urban growth brought new challenges. The influx of poorer citizens increased demand for food, jobs, and housing. Politicians began using public programs and grain distributions to gain support from the expanding urban population. These changes introduced political competition and division, weakening the stability that had characterized earlier periods of the Republic. Wealth from conquests caused disparities between rich and poor to widen. Members of the Senate accumulated large fortunes, while ordinary citizens struggled to maintain economic security. As social tensions grew, many leaders attempted reforms, but disagreements between political factions often prevented long-term solutions. The Republic entered a period of increasing instability as competing groups sought to shape Rome's future. Chapter 13: The Gracchus Brothers and the Struggle for Reform. Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus were two Roman brothers from a respected family who recognized the growing inequality within the Republic. Tiberius Gracchus proposed land reforms that would distribute public land to poor citizens, aiming to rebuild the small farming class. His proposals gained strong support from the lower classes but faced resistance from wealthy landowners who feared losing property and influence. The conflict over Tiberius's reforms escalated quickly. Violent clashes broke out during public assemblies, and Tiberius was eventually killed by political opponents. His death marked one of the first major outbreaks of political violence within the Republic, setting a precedent that future conflicts would follow. Despite his fate, Tiberius's efforts highlighted the fragility of Rome's political structure. Gaius Gracchus continued his brother's reform efforts a decade later. He introduced additional measures, including grain subsidies and new courts to reduce senatorial control. His influence expanded rapidly, but opposition from the Senate remained strong. After a period of intense political struggle, Gaius also met a violent end. The deaths of the Gracchus brothers demonstrated Rome's growing internal divisions and the declining ability of traditional institutions to maintain order. Chapter 14: Rising Ambition and the Age of Powerful Generals. Following the Gracchi, Rome entered an era dominated by ambitious generals who commanded loyal armies. Gaius Marius rose to prominence by reforming the Roman military, allowing landless citizens to serve as soldiers. This change increased Rome's military manpower but also linked soldiers' loyalties to their commanders rather than the state. Marius won several important victories, enhancing his position within Roman politics. Lucius Cornelius Sulla emerged as Marius's rival. Tensions between the two leaders escalated into a series of conflicts that eventually became civil war. For the first time, Roman armies marched on Rome itself, breaking long-standing traditions against using military force within the city. The rivalry led to brutal confrontations, purges, and political restructuring. Sulla ultimately seized control and declared himself dictator, implementing reforms that temporarily strengthened the Senate. Although Sulla attempted to restore traditional republican authority, his actions showed that military leaders could seize power by force. After his resignation, Rome continued to experience political instability. The Republic's institutions weakened as influential individuals used military strength and public support to pursue personal ambitions. The stage was set for even greater conflicts in the years to come. Chapter 15: The Rise of Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar emerged as one of the most influential figures in the late Republic. Coming from an established but not dominant family, Caesar built his early career through political alliances, public speeches, and demonstrating exceptional leadership abilities. His alliance with Pompey and Crassus, known as the First Triumvirate, allowed him to secure the position of consul and later command in Gaul. Caesar's campaigns in Gaul transformed him into a military hero. Over several years, he defeated numerous tribes, expanded Roman territory, and gained the loyalty of experienced soldiers. His reports of these campaigns increased his popularity in Rome, where many viewed him as a leader capable of reforming and strengthening the Republic. However, his rising influence alarmed the Senate and Pompey, who began to view him as a threat. The relationship between Caesar and Pompey deteriorated until the Senate ordered Caesar to relinquish his command. Refusing to submit, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his army, initiating a civil war. His advance into Italy forced Pompey to retreat, and after a series of campaigns, Caesar emerged victorious. His triumph marked the effective end of senatorial dominance and revealed the Republic's inability to resolve power struggles peacefully. Chapter 16: The Rise of Octavian. After Julius Caesar's assassination, Rome did not return to stability. Instead, the city entered a period of confusion as senators, generals, and political factions attempted to shape the future of the Republic. In this uncertain atmosphere, Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, emerged as a significant figure. Though young and initially underestimated, he possessed careful judgment and a calm, patient approach. Octavian moved strategically, gathering allies and presenting himself as the rightful defender of Caesar's legacy. He secured loyalty from veterans who had served under Caesar and gained support from the public through careful messaging. His growing presence made him a central force in the struggle for control, even as other figures, such as Mark Antony, also sought dominance. Rome became a contested ground between ambitious leaders, each claiming legitimacy. To confront Caesar's assassins, Octavian formed a temporary alliance with Mark Antony and Lepidus, creating the Second Triumvirate. Together they defeated their opponents, eliminating those responsible for Caesar's death. After these victories, however, unity among the triumvirs weakened. Antony and Octavian developed differing goals, leading to tension that gradually divided the Roman world once again. Chapter 17: Antony, Cleopatra, and the Struggle for Power. Mark Antony's position took a new turn when he established a political and personal relationship with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt. Cleopatra was intelligent, ambitious, and experienced in diplomacy. Antony's alliance with her strengthened his resources, giving him access to Egypt's wealth and naval capabilities. Their cooperation created concern in Rome, where many viewed Cleopatra as a foreign influence. As Antony spent increasing time in Egypt, suspicions grew among Roman citizens and senators. Octavian capitalized on these concerns, presenting himself as the guardian of Roman tradition while portraying Antony as a leader influenced by foreign interests. This narrative gained traction in Rome and increased Octavian's support among political elites and the general public. Tension between the two leaders escalated into open hostility. The conflict culminated in a major naval battle at Actium in 31 BCE. Octavian's forces defeated Antony and Cleopatra, who retreated to Egypt. Their position collapsed quickly, and both chose to end their lives rather than be captured. With their deaths, Octavian became the unchallenged leader of Rome, positioning himself to reshape the government and usher in a new political era. Chapter 18: The Establishment of the Roman Empire. In 27 BCE, the Senate granted Octavian the title Augustus, marking the beginning of the Roman Empire. Augustus restructured the government while maintaining the appearance of republican traditions. He held ultimate authority but avoided presenting himself as an outright monarch. By carefully balancing power and public image, Augustus secured long-term stability and avoided provoking resistance. Augustus reorganized the military, placing it under his control while ensuring soldiers were paid regularly and stationed across strategic locations. He improved administrative systems, creating clearer provincial governance and reducing corruption. He also invested in public works, including roads, aqueducts, temples, and civic buildings, transforming Rome into a city of stone and structured design. Under Augustus, the empire expanded its borders and strengthened its internal cohesion. His rule emphasized stability, order, and civic responsibility. Through consistent leadership and careful reforms, Augustus created the foundation for a long period of peace and prosperity that future generations would recognize as one of Rome's greatest achievements. Chapter 19, the Pax Romana. The Pax Romana began during Augustus's rule and lasted for nearly 2 centuries. This era was characterized by relative peace, orderly governance, and economic growth throughout the Mediterranean world. The empire's borders were fortified, and large-scale wars became less frequent. Life for citizens and subjects became more predictable and secure. Trade flourished across vast distances. Roads connected distant provinces to the capital, enabling the movement of goods, ideas, and cultures. Merchants carried textiles, metals, grain, spices, and other commodities across the empire. These exchanges strengthened economic relationships and supported the prosperity of both urban centers and rural regions. The stability encouraged the development of local industries and promoted long-term investment. Cities across the empire grew and improved. Public buildings, theaters, forums, and bath complexes became symbols of Roman order and civic life. The Pax Romana allowed art, architecture, literature, and philosophy to flourish. Writers such as Virgil, Horace, and Livy produced works that shaped Roman identity and preserved its cultural memory. The period's stability allowed society to focus on cultural refinement rather than constant conflict. Chapter 20, Daily Life during the Imperial Peace. Life during the imperial peace varied across social classes and regions, but many experiences were shared. In urban centers, daily routines involved market activities, civic duties, and social gatherings. Shops lined busy streets, selling bread, wine, oil, and tools. Artisans worked in open workshops, creating household goods and luxury items. Public baths served as social centers where citizens met to relax, exercise, and converse. In the countryside, farmers cultivated wheat, olives, grapes, and other crops essential to the Roman diet. Rural communities were stable and relied heavily on seasonal rhythms. Many villages maintained their traditional customs while incorporating aspects of Roman administration and law. Local economy supported the broader imperial system through taxes, trade, and military contributions. Family life remained central to Roman society. Households were structured around the authority of the paterfamilias, who managed property and oversaw family decisions. Education focused on reading, writing, arithmetic, and rhetoric, preparing children for roles as citizens or tradespeople. Religious practices shaped daily routines, with households honoring domestic gods and participating in public festivals. Chapter 21, the Julio-Claudian Emperors. After Augustus, the Julio-Claudian dynasty governed Rome for several decades. Tiberius succeeded Augustus and ruled with caution and restraint. His emphasis on stability preserved many of Augustus's reforms, though his later years were marked by withdrawal from public life. The administration continued despite his growing isolation, reflecting the strength of the imperial system. Caligula followed Tiberius and brought unpredictability to the leadership. His early rule showed promise, but a shift in behavior created distrust among senators and citizens. His reign ended abruptly when members of the Praetorian Guard assassinated him. The episode demonstrated that imperial authority could still be challenged by those within Rome's own power structures. Claudius succeeded Caligula and proved to be an effective ruler. He expanded the empire by incorporating Britain as a province and improved administrative efficiency by involving freedmen in governmental roles. Nero followed Claudius and ruled during significant cultural development but caused political strain through controversial decisions. His leadership ended with rebellion and his own death, closing the Julio-Claudian era and opening a new period of uncertainty. Chapter 22, Vespasian and the Flavian Dynasty. Following Nero's downfall, Rome experienced a year of turmoil as several generals competed for the throne. Vespasian emerged victorious and established the Flavian dynasty. His leadership brought stability after the rapid changes of the previous year. Vespasian focused on restoring finances, strengthening military discipline, and promoting practical governance. One of Vespasian's notable contributions was the construction of the Flavian amphitheater, now known as the Colosseum. This massive structure symbolized Roman engineering and served as a venue for public spectacles. Its construction provided employment and demonstrated the dynasty's commitment to public welfare. Vespasian also supported provincial development, recognizing the importance of integrating diverse regions into the empire. His sons Titus and Domitian continued the dynasty's efforts. Titus handled crises such as the eruption of Mount Vesuvius and a major fire in Rome, providing relief and reconstruction. Domitian maintained order through strict policies, though his authoritarian methods caused tension with the Senate. Despite these challenges, the Flavian dynasty preserved stability and strengthened imperial authority. Chapter 23: The Five Good Emperors. The period known as the Rule of the Five Good Emperors marked a high point in Roman governance. Nerva initiated the tradition of adopting competent successors rather than relying on hereditary succession. His careful leadership restored trust after Domitian's authoritarian rule. This approach allowed each emperor to choose a successor based on merit. Trajan succeeded Nerva and oversaw the empire's greatest territorial expansion. His campaigns extended Rome's influence into Dacia and beyond, while his building projects improved infrastructure and public life. Trajan gained a reputation for justice and generosity, reinforcing Rome's stability during his reign. His rule combined military success with civic responsibility, creating a balanced model of leadership. Hadrian followed Trajan and shifted focus from expansion to consolidation. He reorganized provincial administration, strengthened borders, and promoted cultural unity. His construction of Hadrian's Wall in Britain demonstrated Rome's commitment to defending its frontiers. Antoninus Pius continued this legacy of peace, governing through diplomacy and legal reform. Marcus Aurelius, known for his philosophical writings, faced increased military pressure but maintained disciplined leadership. Together, these emperors extended the strength and stability of the empire for nearly a century. Chapter 24: The Challenges after the Five Good Emperors. The death of Marcus Aurelius in 180 CE marked the end of the era of the Five Good Emperors. His son Commodus inherited the throne, and his leadership differed significantly from the disciplined, thoughtful rule of his predecessors. Commodus preferred luxury and spectacle over administrative duties. His governing style weakened relationships between the emperor, the Senate, and the military. Political tensions increased, and his decisions led to instability within the capital and the provinces. After Commodus was assassinated, Rome entered a period of conflict as military commanders and political factions attempted to seize control. This disorder revealed how deeply the empire now relied on strong, capable rulers to maintain stability. Without a firm leader, various armies declared their own candidates for emperor, leading to a brief but intense civil conflict. These power struggles disrupted trade routes, weakened border defenses, and strained the administrative systems that had supported the Pax Romana. The empire eventually stabilized under Septimius Severus, who reorganized the military and strengthened the central authority of the emperor. However, his reforms also elevated the influence of the army, making future emperors dependent on military support. This shift created long-term vulnerabilities, as soldiers increasingly expected political rewards in exchange for loyalty. Rome entered a new phase in which military power shaped succession more than civil institutions. Chapter 25: Economic Strains and Administrative Pressures. As the empire continued into the 3rd century, economic challenges became more severe. Continuous warfare along the frontiers required substantial funding, and the government struggled to maintain the level of taxation needed to support the military. To compensate for shortages, emperors debased the currency, reducing its silver content. This caused inflation, making everyday transactions more difficult for citizens and weakening confidence in Roman coinage. Trade networks also faced disruptions. Border regions suffered from repeated invasions, reducing production and limiting access to important markets. Agricultural land in some provinces was damaged by warfare, causing shortages of grain and other essential goods. These conditions increased the cost of living for ordinary people and forced the government to spend more on food distribution and public assistance. The economic pressures affected cities, rural communities, and the imperial treasury alike. Administrative challenges compounded these problems. As the empire grew more complex, provincial governors struggled to implement consistent laws and maintain adequate order. Communication over long distances was slow, and responses to crises often arrived too late. Corruption increased in some regions, and tax collection became inefficient. These issues weakened the empire's ability to respond to emergencies and maintain the stability that had characterized earlier centuries. Chapter 26: The Crisis of the 3rd Century. The 3rd century became one of the most difficult periods in Roman history. A rapid succession of emperors, many raised to power by the army, created constant instability. Few emperors ruled long enough to implement lasting reforms, and many were overthrown by rivals or assassinated. This rapid turnover weakened the legitimacy of imperial authority and encouraged further military interference in politics. External threats intensified during this time. Germanic tribes pressed against the northern frontier, seeking settlements and resources. In the east, the Sasanian Empire emerged as a strong and organized power capable of challenging Rome directly. Several Roman defeats revealed weaknesses in the empire's defensive strategies. Cities near the frontiers suffered raids, and populations were displaced, creating social and economic strain. These attacks forced Rome to divert resources to border protection, further stressing the treasury. Despite these difficulties, the empire did not collapse. Efforts by several emperors stabilized key regions, and capable generals prevented the total breakdown of Roman control. The persistence of Roman institutions, military discipline, and administrative experience allowed the empire to survive the crisis. However, the events of the 3rd century exposed deep structural weaknesses that would resurface in later generations. Chapter 27: Diocletian and the Reorganization of the Empire. In 284 CE, Diocletian became emperor and implemented significant reforms to restore stability. Recognizing that the empire was too vast for one individual to govern effectively, he divided authority between 2 emperors, creating the system known as the Tetrarchy. Under this arrangement, 4 rulers governed different regions of the empire, improving administrative efficiency and enabling faster responses to regional issues. Diocletian restructured the military, fortified borders, and reorganized provincial divisions to reduce corruption and strengthen oversight. His reforms aimed to create a clearer separation between civil and military authority, which had often blurred during the 3rd century crisis. He also introduced new tax policies designed to stabilize revenue, though these policies placed heavy burdens on many citizens. Despite these challenges, his administrative improvements strengthened the empire in the short term. One of Diocletian's most lasting actions was the persecution of Christians, which he viewed as a threat to traditional Roman unity. This policy created hardship and division but did not achieve its intended effect. After Diocletian's abdication, the empire gradually moved toward religious tolerance under his successors. His reforms left the empire with a more stable structure, though many underlying pressures persisted. Chapter 28: Constantine and the Transformation of the Empire. Constantine emerged as a dominant figure after a series of conflicts following the Tetrarchy. He consolidated power and became the sole ruler of the empire. His reign marked a turning point in Roman history, particularly through his support of Christianity. By issuing the Edict of Milan, he granted legal tolerance to Christians and ended state-sponsored persecution. This policy encouraged the spread of Christianity throughout the empire and transformed Roman religious life. Constantine also restructured imperial administration and strengthened the role of the emperor. He introduced new gold coinage, the solidus, which stabilized the economy and improved long-term financial confidence. His military reforms increased the flexibility of the army and enhanced the empire's ability to defend its borders. These changes helped restore stability after decades of turmoil and strengthened Rome's position in both East and West. One of Constantine's most significant decisions was the establishment of Constantinople as a new imperial capital. Located on the site of Byzantium, the city had strategic advantages for trade and defense. Its construction symbolized a shift in the empire's center of power toward the eastern Mediterranean. Constantinople grew quickly into a major cultural, political, and economic center, providing a strong foundation for the eastern half of the empire long after the west declined. Chapter 29: The gradual weakening of the Western Empire. By the 4th century, the Roman Empire was effectively two connected but distinct halves, the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. The eastern half, centered around Constantinople, possessed stronger defenses, wealthier provinces, and more stable administration. The western half faced greater challenges, including declining populations, weakened economies, and repeated invasions along the northern frontier. Germanic tribes continued to move into Roman territory, sometimes seeking land peacefully and other times entering by force. The empire attempted to manage these migrations through diplomacy and treaties, granting certain groups land and military roles. However, disagreements and cultural differences often led to conflict. The movement of large populations placed heavy strain on Roman resources and military capabilities, especially in the West. Political instability further weakened the Western government. Rapid changes in leadership, disagreements between generals, and interference by external powers made it difficult to maintain coherent policy. As resources declined, the empire struggled to support its armies and maintain infrastructure. The combination of external pressure and internal disorder gradually reduced the authority of the Western emperors. Chapter 30: The Fall of the Western Roman Empire. The 5th century brought increasing pressure on the Western Empire. Various groups, including the Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths, moved deeper into Roman territory. Some established kingdoms within former Roman lands, replacing imperial administration with their own leadership. Rome itself was sacked in 410 CE by the Visigoths and again in 455 CE by the Vandals. These events shocked the Roman world but did not immediately end the empire. The Western emperors became increasingly symbolic, with real power held by military commanders and regional rulers. Economic decline accelerated as trade networks broke down and agricultural production suffered. The government struggled to collect taxes, pay soldiers, and maintain essential services. Each decade further reduced the empire's ability to respond to internal and external challenges. In 476 CE, the last Western emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic leader Odoacer. This event is traditionally viewed as the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Although the Eastern Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, continued for nearly 1,000 more years, the western half fragmented into various kingdoms. The fall was not sudden but the cumulative result of political instability, economic weakness, military pressure, and administrative difficulties. Chapter 31: The Legacy of Rome. Despite its decline, the impact of Rome remained vast and enduring. Roman law influenced legal systems across Europe, shaping principles of property, contract, and citizenship. Latin evolved into the Romance languages and contributed significantly to the vocabulary of many others. Roman engineering, including roads, aqueducts, and architectural techniques, set standards that lasted centuries. Roman culture preserved literature, philosophy, and historical writing that continued to be studied throughout the Middle Ages and into the modern world. The spread of Christianity during the late Empire had a lasting effect on Europe and beyond, influencing religious institutions, art, and social structures. Even after its political dissolution, Rome continued to shape identity, governance, and cultural development. The story of Rome illustrates how civilizations rise, adapt, and eventually transform. Its achievements and failures provide insight into the complexities of power, administration, and human ambition. Through centuries of change, Rome left a legacy that remained central to the development of Western civilization long after the empire itself had disappeared. Chapter 32: The Structure of the Roman Army. The Roman army developed gradually from a citizen militia into a professional force capable of defending a vast empire. In the early Republic, soldiers were landowning citizens who served during campaigns and returned home afterward. As the Republic expanded, however, longer campaigns required more consistent training, better coordination, and improved equipment. The army evolved into a highly organized system built on discipline and routine. The basic unit of the Roman army was the legion. A legion typically included thousands of soldiers divided into cohorts and centuries. Each century had its own commander, and each cohort functioned like a self-contained fighting unit. This structure allowed Rome to maneuver its forces with precision. Soldiers trained regularly to maintain formation, carry out coordinated movements, and adapt to changes on the battlefield. Their effectiveness came not from individual strength but from collective discipline. Over time, recruitment shifted from property-owning citizens to volunteers drawn from all social classes. These volunteers signed long-term contracts, received steady pay, and gained opportunities for advancement. The shift created a more professional military that could operate year-round. The army's structure remained consistent across different provinces, allowing Rome to deploy forces quickly and maintain order across regions. Chapter 33: Training, Discipline, and Daily Life of Soldiers. Roman soldiers trained continuously, even during periods without active warfare. Training included marching long distances while carrying heavy equipment, practicing with weapons, and drilling in formation. These activities improved endurance, coordination, and readiness. Soldiers learned to maintain a regular pace, keep formation during attacks, and respond to commands instantly. Training emphasized mental and physical discipline, shaping the army into a reliable force under varied conditions. Daily life in military camps followed strict routines. Soldiers constructed fortified camps whenever they stopped, even for a single night. These camps included defensive walls, organized living quarters, storage areas, and designated spaces for officers. The standardized layout ensured order and safety. Soldiers also performed tasks such as repairing equipment, gathering supplies, and preparing food. This self-sufficiency allowed the army to operate far from Roman territory without relying heavily on local resources. Punishments within the Roman army were severe and reflected its emphasis on discipline. Theft, disobedience, and desertion were met with strict consequences designed to maintain cohesion. Rewards, however, also played a role. Successful soldiers earned bonuses, land grants, and opportunities for advancement. The balance of discipline and incentive ensured that the army remained motivated and loyal. This system contributed greatly to Rome's long-term military success. Chapter 34: Military Equipment and Technology. Roman soldiers used standardized equipment that evolved as new materials and techniques became available. The typical legionary carried a shield, a short sword called a gladius, javelins, and protective armor. The design of the shield allowed soldiers to form tight formations, creating walls of protection during combat. Armor varied across periods but often included metal plates or chainmail that balanced protection with mobility. Engineering skills played a critical role in Roman warfare. Soldiers constructed roads, bridges, and fortifications to support military operations. They could build siege engines such as towers, battering rams, and catapults. These machines allowed Rome to capture heavily defended cities that earlier armies might have avoided. Engineering also ensured that armies could move efficiently across difficult terrain. Roads built by soldiers connected distant regions and facilitated rapid troop deployment. Naval forces supported the army during campaigns requiring sea transport or coastal defense. Roman warships were sturdy and effective for boarding enemy vessels. Although Rome was not originally a maritime power, it learned quickly and adapted ship designs from other cultures, particularly during the Punic Wars. The combination of land and sea capabilities gave Rome a strategic advantage in controlling the Mediterranean. Chapter 35: Expansion and Frontier Defense. As Rome expanded, its army became responsible for defending long frontiers that stretched across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. Fortresses and watchtowers marked important points along these borders. Soldiers stationed at frontier posts monitored movements, reported threats, and engaged hostile groups when necessary. The presence of these garrisons deterred invasions and maintained Roman authority. Provincial armies adapted to the environments in which they served. Troops stationed in deserts learned to manage heat and lack of water. Those in northern Europe navigated forests, rivers, and harsh winters. The Roman military system provided consistent organization while allowing flexibility in strategy. Local auxiliaries, recruited from non-citizen populations, supported the legions and contributed specialized skills such as archery or cavalry tactics. Over time, defending frontiers required increasingly large armies. This demand placed economic strain on the empire, which struggled to fund the military during periods of crisis. Despite these challenges, the army remained a crucial element of Roman stability for centuries. The structure, discipline, and professionalism established in earlier periods continued to influence European military systems long after the fall of Rome. Chapter 36: The Structure of Roman Society. Roman society developed into a layered system with clearly defined roles and expectations. At the top stood the elite classes, including senators and wealthy landowners who held political influence and controlled large estates. Their status came from ancestry, property, and public service. These individuals played significant roles in governing the empire, advising emperors, and shaping laws. Their daily lives involved managing estates, participating in politics, and fulfilling religious duties. Below the elite were the equestrians, a class originally associated with cavalry service but later defined by wealth and business activities. They engaged in trade, tax collection, and administrative roles that required financial skill rather than political authority. Many equestrians accumulated significant fortunes, giving them an important place in urban life. Their status provided social mobility for families who rose through commerce or military service. The largest portion of the population consisted of ordinary citizens, including farmers, craftsmen, laborers, and merchants. These individuals formed the foundation of Roman economic life. They produced food, built infrastructure, and kept markets active. Freedmen, former enslaved individuals who gained their liberty, occupied another layer of society. They contributed to skilled trades, business management, and household services. Enslaved workers, who lacked legal freedom, performed a wide range of tasks and were integral to the functioning of Roman households, estates, and industries. Chapter 37: Family Life and Household Structure. Family was the central unit of Roman society. Each household was guided by the paterfamilias, the male head who oversaw property, finances, and family decisions. This position carried legal authority and responsibility. Families often included extended relatives, servants, and enslaved workers, forming complex domestic communities. Respect for tradition shaped daily routines and reinforced social order within the home. Women's roles varied depending on class and circumstance. Elite women managed households, supervised servants, and oversaw children's education. They also played active roles in organizing social events and influencing family decisions. Although excluded from holding formal political office, many women shaped political outcomes through alliances, marriages, and personal networks. Among the lower classes, women participated in market work, textile production, and family businesses. Children received education according to their family's status and resources. Young boys studied reading, writing, arithmetic, and rhetoric, preparing for public life or trade. Girls often learned household skills but could also receive broader education in literate families. Stories, traditions, and religious practices were passed down within the home, creating continuity between generations. These early lessons shaped the values and identity that children carried into adulthood. Chapter 38: Work, Occupations, and Economic Life. The Roman economy relied heavily on agriculture. Most rural families worked the land, producing grains, vegetables, olives, and grapes. Large estates, known as latifundia, operated with enslaved labor and produced goods for urban markets. Smaller farms supplied local needs and contributed to regional trade networks. The rhythm of planting and harvesting shaped rural life and influenced social and religious practices. In the cities, a wide range of occupations existed. Artisans crafted pottery, metal tools, jewelry, and household items. Builders constructed homes, roads, aqueducts, and public structures. Bakers, butchers, and shopkeepers maintained steady business in bustling markets. Many workers belonged to professional associations, which provided community and regulated standards for trades. These groups supported members during illness, funerals, and difficult times. Commerce connected different regions of the empire. Merchants transported goods by road and sea, trading olive oil, wine, textiles, grain, spices, and metals. Ports along the Mediterranean served as hubs of activity, where goods from distant provinces converged. Economic life depended on efficient infrastructure, reliable currency, and stable governance. Together, these elements created a complex system that sustained the empire's large population. Chapter 39: Leisure, Entertainment, and Public Life. Romans placed significant value on leisure and public entertainment. Amphitheaters hosted gladiatorial games, where trained fighters performed in front of large crowds. These events drew spectators from all social classes and served political purposes by demonstrating an emperor's generosity and power. Chariot races, held in large circuses, captivated audiences with speed and competition, creating loyal fan groups for different racing teams. Theaters provided another popular form of entertainment. Plays, comedies, and dramatic performances reflected everyday experiences, political events, and social themes. These performances offered a space for people to gather, relax, and enjoy artistic expression. Public baths also played an essential role in daily life. They offered warm and cold pools, exercise areas, gardens, and libraries. People visited baths to socialize, conduct business, and maintain personal hygiene. Public spaces such as forums served as the heart of civic life. Citizens gathered to discuss news, listen to speeches, and participate in elections when political rights allowed. Markets around these areas sold food, clothing, and household goods. Religious festivals brought communities together through rituals, processions, and shared celebrations. These events reinforced cultural identity and offered a sense of belonging within the vast empire. Chapter 40: Food, Clothing, and Household Living. Roman meals depended on region and social class. Ordinary citizens ate simple foods such as bread, porridge, vegetables, and olives. Wealthier families enjoyed more variety, including meats, fish, cheeses, and imported delicacies. Meals were occasions for conversation and hospitality. Dinner, the main meal of the day, brought family and guests together in structured dining arrangements that reflected social status. Clothing also indicated social position. Most Romans wore tunics made of wool or linen. Men of higher status wore togas on official occasions, while women wore stolas. Fabric quality, color, and decoration signaled wealth and identity. Clothing styles varied across provinces but often blended local traditions with Roman fashion. Footwear ranged from sandals to sturdy boots for travel and work. Homes differed greatly between urban and rural settings. City dwellings ranged from multi-story apartment buildings to spacious villas with courtyards, gardens, and decorated rooms. Rural houses focused on practicality, including storage areas, workspaces, and animal shelters. Household items such as pottery, lamps, and tools reflected daily needs and regional craftsmanship. Despite differences in comfort and scale, Roman homes centered around family, work, and tradition. Chapter 41: Early Roman Religion and its Foundations. Early Roman religion developed from a blend of Italic, Sabine, and Etruscan beliefs. The earliest Romans worshipped numerous spirits associated with natural forces, household spaces, and daily tasks. These spirits, called noumena, were believed to influence everything from farming to childbirth. People honored them through simple rituals aimed at maintaining harmony. Religion was practical rather than speculative, focusing on actions that preserved order and stability. As society became more structured, Romans identified major gods who governed specific aspects of life. Jupiter oversaw the sky and leadership, Mars represented war and agriculture, and Vesta protected the hearth. These gods were honored through public ceremonies led by priests who preserved religious tradition. The role of religion expanded as the city grew, linking divine approval to civic success. Romans believed that careful ritual practice contributed to the safety and prosperity of the community. Etruscan influence shaped Roman religious offices, temple architecture, and methods of interpreting signs. Priests known as augurs studied birds, lightning, and natural phenomena to understand the will of the gods. Other officials inspected animal organs during sacrifices to determine whether the gods accepted offerings. These practices reflected the belief that maintaining proper relationships with divine forces required attention, discipline, and respect for established procedures. Chapter 42, Myths, Legends, and Cultural Identity. Roman mythology incorporated stories that explained origins, moral lessons, and heroic ideals. Many myths emphasize duty, sacrifice, and loyalty to family and state. The legend of Aeneas, a Trojan hero who journeyed to Italy after the fall of Troy, connected Rome's beginnings to ancient civilizations. His perseverance and sense of mission symbolized Roman values and reinforced the idea that Rome had a destined place in the world. Other myths focused on figures such as Romulus, Numa, and early kings whose actions shaped institutions and traditions. These stories blended history with imagination, creating narratives that expressed cultural identity. They were retold in poetry, drama, and public ceremonies, becoming part of the shared memory of Roman citizens. Mythology provided a framework that linked past and present, offering explanations for customs and reinforcing collective beliefs. Greek mythology influenced Roman stories significantly. When Rome expanded into Greek territories, it adopted many Greek gods and adapted them to Roman culture. Zeus became Jupiter, Hera became Juno, and Athena became Minerva. Although the names changed, Roman interpretations emphasized civic duty and public life. Myths became tools for teaching virtues and shaping ideals of leadership, strength, and perseverance. Chapter 43, Public Rituals, Priests, and Religious Offices. Religious life in Rome was highly organized, involving a variety of priestly colleges responsible for specific duties. The pontiffs oversaw legal and ritual matters, preserving sacred calendars and advising leaders on religious obligations. The Vestal Virgins maintained the sacred fire of Vesta, symbolizing the safety of the Roman state. Their role carried high honor and strict rules, reflecting the connection between purity and civic protection. Public rituals marked important moments in the year. Festivals honored gods, celebrated victories, and prepared for agricultural cycles. Citizens participated in processions, sacrifices, and games that expressed unity and gratitude. These events strengthened social bonds and reinforced Rome's identity as a community under divine guidance. The involvement of magistrates and senators highlighted the intertwined nature of religion and governance. Augurs and haruspices interpreted signs to determine whether actions had divine approval. Before battles, elections, or major decisions, leaders sought these interpretations to avoid wrongdoing. Although modern readers may view these practices symbolically, Romans regarded them as essential to maintaining order. The belief that divine forces participated in civic life gave rituals lasting significance throughout the Republic and early Empire. Chapter 44, Philosophy and Intellectual Life. Philosophy became an important part of Roman culture, especially during the late Republic and early Empire. Greek thinkers influenced Roman intellectual life as soldiers, traders, and diplomats brought new ideas from the Eastern Mediterranean. Elite Romans studied Stoicism, Epicureanism, and other philosophical schools to shape their understanding of duty, virtue, and the nature of life. Stoicism became particularly influential among Roman leaders. It emphasized self-control, rational thought, and acceptance of fate. Figures such as Seneca and Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively on moral responsibility, discipline, and the importance of remaining calm in the face of adversity. Their writings became central to Roman ethical thought and continue to influence modern discussions of personal conduct. Epicureanism offered a different perspective by focusing on moderation, simple pleasures, and the avoidance of unnecessary desires. Although often misunderstood, its teachings encouraged peaceful living and intellectual reflection. Other schools, such as Platonism and Aristotelianism, contributed to debates on politics, logic, and the natural world. Together, these philosophies shaped education, literature, and personal behavior in Roman society. Chapter 45, Mystery Religions and the Rise of Eastern Cults. As the empire expanded, new religious movements entered Roman society. Mystery religions from Egypt, Persia, and the Near East offered personal spiritual experiences not found in traditional Roman practices. These religions often included initiation ceremonies, moral teachings, and promises of afterlife rewards. Participation attracted individuals seeking deeper meaning beyond public rituals. The cult of Isis from Egypt emphasized compassion, renewal, and protection. Its rituals featured symbolic imagery and appealed to a wide range of social classes. The worship of Mithras, popular among soldiers, focused on loyalty, duty, and spiritual struggle. Mithraic temples appeared across the empire, reflecting the widespread appeal of this Eastern religion. These cults coexisted with traditional Roman beliefs, creating a diverse religious landscape. As new religions spread, traditional practices continued but no longer held exclusive authority. The interaction between old and new beliefs reshaped Roman spirituality and prepared the cultural environment for the rise of Christianity. Religious diversity became a defining feature of the late empire, offering individuals different paths to moral guidance and personal identity.